It occurred to me that it had been a while since I'd done a tank update. So, this is probably going to be one of the last ones that I do for a while. Mostly because everything's pretty stable. I mean, there's really not a whole lot going on. I haven't moved anything. I've actually been trying to simplify things because I'm working a full-time job now and I'm really busy. So, what I did was I pretty much stopped fertilization. Right now, I only use fertilizers after I do a water change. I don't have that many fish anymore. I mean, just because over the course of the past year, fish have died off and I haven't bothered replacing them. So my load in the tank is really low. My water parameters stay stable for quite some time. And I just did a water change tonight, which is why everything looks really kind of shitty right now. Due to stopping the fertilizers, I do still have some algae issues. And I think the biggest problem that I'm having is that I can't get my lighting right. I think my light is too bright. And I don't know if you can see this or not, but we have these really crappy drop ceilings. And with where it's situated above the tank, I can't come up with any way to hang the lights easily. And I'm not quite sure, I guess I'm not quite sure how to get them elevated off of the top anymore. So I've got the light knocked down to about 4 to 6 hours a day. It's not on for very long. It's actually on much later than it should be right now, only because I was doing the water change. So my lighting has been reduced. Fertilizers have been reduced. CO2 has been heavily reduced. I've only got it down to about 1 bubble per second. And, for the most part, with the exception of some algae issues that really aren't that bad, everything's pretty stable. I mean, it's not as lush and green as it should be. And, I'm sure that you can see, I've got these big spots of algae everywhere. And I have a scraper. So I scrape the algae. This one right here, I don't know what that black shit is on my leaves. It's obviously some kind of algae. I don't know what. I just kind of gave up on it after a while. I don't really care anymore. The fish are happy. An aquatic environment is not always going to be pristine. So I just had to get over it and say, fuck it. I don't really care if it's perfect. I don't care if I have a little bit of algae here and there. It's really not that big a deal. I am going to have to get rid of the flying foxes. And I don't know if you're going to be able to see one at any point. But they're huge. They're absolutely enormous. I want to say that the biggest one is almost 6 inches long. And they have started grazing on the moss. This big piece of wood here in the middle used to have flame moss all over it. And of course right now the snails are out because we just did a water change, so the log itself is looking kind of grody and the snails are like, woo, dinner time. Yeah, so they ate a bunch of the flame moss and they pretty much cleared this rock. This rock used to be covered in just, Java moss, and that stump back there, it was all covered in Java moss. And these little fuckers have just started chowing down on it, I guess. I had heard that before, that as they got more mature, they would start eating your moss in your tank. I was like, it's not a big deal. Well, it kind of is. Because it kind of looks like Trump's hair at this point. It's like it's got a comb over. There's little spots of moss that are trying desperately to help out the rest. But yeah, I mean, the tank is kind of grotty. I have been, kind of lax on water changes. Water's been really stable. My parameters have been rock solid. So I've been kind of letting it take care of itself. I've got a lot more, like, just random debris shit on the substrate because I don't have shrimp anymore. And the reason that I don't have shrimp anymore is that they kept getting eaten. I couldn't keep them in here for more than, you know, a night. I'd wake up in the morning and they were all dead. You know, fish ate them. So I kind of gave up on shrimp. And because of that, you know, I have a lot more debris in the bottom of my tank, leftover food debris. I have a couple of snails. There's one up there near the top. And I think I just saw the other one way back there in the back. So he's kind of chilling out. But I got in there tonight and I actually did a double water change. I stirred it up real good. I got a lot of the crap floating up into the water column. And I siphoned it off twice. I did 2 75% water changes. I'm probably going to get some payback from that one, but you know, we'll see what happens. But I stirred it all up, so it's kind of cloudy and ick, and some of the duckweed had died because my water level got too low. I know, I'm the worst fish mother ever, but the water level had gotten too low, so some of the duckweed dried onto the side of the glass. And now it's just kind of stuck there. I'm waiting for it to get re-soaked with water so that I can scrape it off easier. So I tried scraping it off when the glass was dry, and that was just no bueno. That made a noise that I never want to hear again. It was pretty awful. So yeah, this is, like I said, this is probably going to be the last one that I do for a while because nothing's really changing these days. I have a giant, crap, now I have to remember the names of everything. I have a giant Java fern in the back. A big old plot of crypts. A bunch of this stuff, which for the life of me, I cannot remember what that stuff is called, but it grows like mad. I had to chop the top off of it earlier tonight because it, and with fertilizers and, all those bubbles. With fertilizers and CO2, that stuff, it'll take over. It's a pretty hardy grower. Some of the grassy stuff in the back, and these guys. So nothing that grows too horrendously, except for that guy there in the middle. Everything is a pretty slow grower. Every once in a while, I just come and chop the tops off of the grass, and it seems to like that just fine. I got some dead leaves in there though. I need to get in there and clean those out tomorrow. I pulled out a pretty good chunk of crypts, and I actually need to empty my bucket, but no, you totally can't see it, but the bucket's probably about a third full of stuff that I took out of there tonight. I took out a bunch of duckweed and took out some crypts and, you know, gave that a haircut, gave that a haircut, gave everything a haircut. So I'm kind of rambling at this point, but yeah, I mean, everything's going fine, so I don't see anything changing. I might start documenting again, you know, if I have a little bit more time to start battling this algae problem to figure out exactly, you know, what it is that's causing it. But for right now, I'm just kind of ignoring it. Everybody's happy, so it doesn't matter. Obligatory kitty. You tiny mama kitty. Okay, this is about fish though. So yeah, thanks everybody who has kept up with this so far, and yeah, I'll post every once in a while, I guess. Thanks.